order. And our first order of business is the special meeting agenda. Item A is a loan proposal and resolution for a 18-wheeler sanitation truck. This truck is already within the 24-25 budget, and we have previously approved the loan for this new 18-wheeler sanitation truck. The staff has solicited proposals from banks for the financing of the purchase of that equipment. It's my understanding that we received 3 proposals, and based on those proposals, the town manager and our finance director recommend that we enter into the proposal submitted by Truist Bank. And I think one of the proposals were all fairly close, but one of the biggest drawing points for the Truist is that we would not have to make a payment until budget year 25-26. Is that correct?
November of 25.
Okay.
How long it take for the truck to?
No, that's just the payment date.
Okay, so the town manager and our finance director are seeking a motion and a vote on accepting the proposal from Truist. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Aaron Costin. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Councilman Sellers. Any further discussion or questions anybody has?
How long does it take for the truck?
The truck is local, and we would be able to get it once we finalize any of the loan documents.
And the other proposal had a fairly quick payment based on delivery. In this proposal, the first payment's not until what, October, November of next year, November of next year. Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, we got a motion and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have approved that particular proposal. Just ask that you move forward with that, Corey. The next matter that we have before us under the special meeting is a professional services agreement with the Wooten Company. The town of Edenton has received a 100% grant from NCDEQ in the amount of $200,000. This was back in the spring of 2023. It is for an asset inventory and assessment, and also will include improvements to the collection system, smoke testing, pump station inspection, manhole inspection, and also administration funding. As I mentioned, this is a 100% grant, and any fees due to the Wooten Company for their services are also included in the grant. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the town manager is recommending that council approve the agreement for services between the town and Wooten Company for the purposes that I just stated. Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Okay, we've got a couple. We got a second.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor of entering into this services agreement with the Wooten Company for the purposes previously stated, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We approve that proposal. All right, the next item is agenda item C, and agenda item C sounds very similar to agenda item B that we just approved. This is a separate grant. It is also from North Carolina DEQ and is also related to our wastewater collection system. The state, which was awarding the grants, had advised us to apply for these grants separately, and if we were awarded both grants, the work would be done at the same time. So we followed their advice and applied for the grants separately. This grant is $400,000, just like the other one we just discussed. It does involve 100% grant funding, and what this grant would go to, different from what the earlier one would include CCTV of the collection system, flow monitoring, hydraulic modeling, asset management plan, and a capital improvement plan, a wastewater rate study, and also funding and administration. Like the earlier agreement with the Wooten Company, any cost and payments to the Wooten Company for services would be included in the grant. So with both of them, there's no expenses to us, including
Yes.
Wooten Company's expenses. Okay, do we have a motion to approve that particular services agreement with the Wooten Company?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and second. Are there any questions of Corey on this one or any comments, any discussion? Okay, as it relates to this $400,000 grant, all in favor of us entering into the agreement with the Wooten Company, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Oh, it works on Corey.
Immediately, there's been some, at least pre-con discussions that we've had for the parallel of these two projects. You should see a lot of folks out in the field, particularly around our manholes and things like that, doing some assessments, and maybe some GIS work, as well as some of the camera equipment being back out and kind of cameraing what we've got.
And when that starts, we'll push something out to traditional media and
Yeah.
social media to let people know what's going on.
Yeah, once we have the, particularly for the CCTV work, that would probably be the biggest time period that there would be delays, and we usually phase that with the contractor to go through which sections that are out there. But yeah, we'll make sure that we keep the public alert of any road closures or any areas that we may be working in or have contractors in, but we usually have staff in at the same time.
Is that going, any of that going to cause any damage that would need to be repaired to streets and sidewalks?
All that subsurface.
Okay. That concludes our special meeting, and now we'll move to committee meetings. The only committee that has items to discuss tonight is the Utilities Committee, so I'm going to hand that over to Councilman Bond.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna hand it over to someone else. Next Grid Professional Service and Support Agreement and Limited Warranty Agreement. Corey is up to date on this. So Corey, could you help me out?
Yes, sir. So Councilman Bond and I did take a chance to go over this early yesterday or Friday afternoon, I'm trying to remember. But we did send out the professional services agreement and the customer support agreement, as well as the limited warranty, to the town attorney to get a chance for his review from any legal standpoint. And if you remember, as part of the 24-25 budget, the council approved the annual service pricing for professional services with the Next Grid group to implement a smart system for our electric utility grid for the town of Edenton. This program would launch the rollout of the Next Grid user interface platform for staff and residents, and it would also replace all the electric meters to the advanced metering infrastructure smart network. This agreement would be for a 10-year service and warranty term. The annual pricing would include a 5-year term of $397,824 and a second 5-year rate of $53,028 to finalize the 10-year term. I do have the electric director here with us tonight if there's any questions that we have. We did get a response back from the town attorney, and at this time we've shared these items with the Next Grid folks. And so what we're recommending is that the utility committee send the agreement to full council for consideration with the one contingency that these 13 items have been addressed with Next Grid's legal as well as ours and satisfied before any type of final vote is considered. I did have some discussion about this over the weekend with Councilman Bond, and I reached out to also the some of our peers, members as part of the Electricities group, and spoke with their town manager today, and I wanted to advise the group that the issues that we had discussed this Friday afternoon were more geared towards the water meter portion of this. This Next Grid system has the ability to do multiple interfaces, and when I spoke with the town manager about that, they had indicated that some of the problems that they had seen had been around that water utility. If you remember, the town about 2 years ago opted to go a different route for our water meters, and when we discussed more about the electric meter process, she had indicated a more positive response there. So I do provide you some feedback on that for the committee meeting.
Will this eventually do away with the meter readers? Eventually, or you still need that position?
Not
The job would
completely.
be different.
The job would be different. When we talk about physical meter reading versus an automated like this, what it typically does is allows those meter readers to become meter technicians, where they would more troubleshoot any type of technical issue that the meter may be having with the communication network that gets it back to town hall. But there will always be a need for a meter technician or a meter reader when we go through billing and there are exception reports or there are things that do not appear correct, for that individual to go back out in the field and work with our billing clerk to try to identify what a problem may be. So they become more of a data log person, and then they evolve into more of a kind of troubleshooting and technical person that learns more about the equipment, learns more about the software and how they communicate, and then what can create problems for billing and make something appear out of sorts.
Can it have any help on showing us our future use or
There are some,
our planning for 2 years from now or a year from now?
I think so. A big piece of this would be consideration around any operation improvements, whether if you found problems within the grid, and Hunter can join us in any of these, as far as areas where we've developed inefficiencies or operational inefficiencies, if it's not like a grid inefficiency. The one key thing to remember here is when Acosta was here back before the budget season, when we started preparing for this budget, if you remember within this project, the initial estimates that Hunter and myself and Virginia had come up with showed about $520,000 in annual savings. And this project is not even offered to municipalities if their savings potential doesn't at least exceed what the annual first 5 years cost is. And so when we think about this number, it's really an offset of things that we would see in operational savings, in efficiency savings, in billing savings, that is really offset for that annual payment. And the electric director is here with us as well if we need to answer any other specific questions.
Councilman Turner, I would say that with going to this system, it's going to give us the ability to see our readings, our usages in real time, and we're going to be able to see, our summer months when we're shooting up that peak where it is, where now we're just not able to create that data or see that data. So we will be able to see, within 6 months, the way Edenton's grown, we'll be able to see that fluctuation and that growth. That's one big thing that we're really interested in long term is time of day consumption. When rates are the highest for us, we'll be able to see how much we're being affected in those time frames. Things like that. We'll just have a lot more ability to really get hard numbers, good data that we can't get now with a meter reader that sees a meter once a month. Right.
So is it about efficiency from both an electricity standpoint and also for us financially?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be able to break it down as to what circuit is using the most power, what time of day, go back to time of day consumption, when our big load time is. We'll be able to see, if a customer is calling in saying, why was my bill so high? We can narrow that down to a time frame that might have been all your kids were at home, you were cooking dinner, you were washing clothes, just be able to give our customers more information and help them better understand their electricity as well. When an EV car is plugged in, we would be able to pick that up as there's that spike, and that's why your bill was higher.
And if you, sorry, Mayor, if you remember, this type of user interface was included in what we did for our water meter system, and that we actually can monitor things on an hourly rate over a period of months and months and months. It would be the same for electric usage. You know, we can troubleshoot and help homeowners when there's a leak or there's an excess of power use. Very similar to what we can with the Harmony system that we have for the water meters. And we can look at hourly rates and know at 12 o'clock midnight on Tuesday night that you used 55 gallons of water. And it'd be very similar for electric. We would know roughly, you know, something's plugged in outside, or the vehicle was charging at night, or we would be able to go through those. And we found those very helpful when we sit down with customers and actually can go hour by hour during billing cycles, and they can really see that, and they can start really kind of planning ahead for their energy consumption.
Does this program supplement or give us any better and quicker access to the sources of electrical problems or electrical outages?
Yes, sir. Well, it'll provide, and this will be employee facing at the beginning, but it'll provide us an outage map. So anytime a meter would go out, we'll get a notification saying this meter has lost power. So it would essentially create us an outage map. We'll have to roll that into a customer facing outage map. But that's our big thing right now is, you know, we don't know until somebody would call. With this system, you might be at dinner, we get the call if the meter's out. Before you've ever made it back home, we're there trying
So
to
it's not
restore the
dependent
power.
upon you getting a call?
No, sir.
Because sometimes I don't call because I figure everybody else is calling.
Any other municipalities using this same system?
There are.
Have you talked to
We have,
people?
and that's what Corey was saying earlier, that there's been some negative sides on the water, and that's been with a lot of programs, you know, just due to it being in the ground, underneath the lid. The electric side of things, people are fond of. This program particularly is a newer rollout, them offering 10-year, service. That's gonna put them right there in step with us the whole time.
Yeah, can I ask you a couple questions, not
Yes,
really
sir.
related to that, but while we got you here? So, you know, I've been on here so long, we bought those peak shaving, diesel machines, and, I'm about worn out, are they not about worn out?
They went through a pretty big refab over the
Okay.
last year.
All right.
We did some breaker maintenance on those. We have, invested back into them to get them back up and running. They're running good right now, and we keep our fingers crossed for
And
that.
that's the first thing I learned when I got on town council, about shaving the peak. But the other thing is are we getting to a time when people could put up solar on their, in their yard, and it would actually make the meter sort of spin backwards? Is that so at a time when it's also economically feasible, and it's sort of, instead of having to invest all this money into it,
The panels and everything like that, they're getting better. The amount that you would need to put out there to cover your load plus spin the meter backwards would be significant. But with this system, it also gives us a meter now that could read incoming and outgoing direction. Where right
and
now,
is that different than what's been there before?
It is.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so
Right now we
that's
have
what
two
we're talking
meters.
about, yeah.
What you're saying, your whole roof would have to be solar panels, correct?
not necessarily, but you better have a good amount of them, and you better have some bright sun that day.
Well, I guess, because, I think there's still tax credits for all that, but I don't know whether that's something that I looked into it a while back, you couldn't do it because of the meters, so you're saying these meters actually will do that?
And that's been another big push for
Yeah.
us as well with this. We got a lot of customers that they want to go to a net metering
Yeah.
system, and we had to tell them, we just don't have the
Is
ability.
there any way we could get somebody in here to give us to talk to us about that, to say?
Because I think a year or so ago, we had a decent number, 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
people come to a meeting or send us a
And want to
letter
do it, yeah.
about that.
And
But
so-
I think if we had somebody we know is credible come and talk about, the cost and, because it'd be a great thing for, if, I don't know whether you store in batteries, you shave the peak that way.
Well, there's a lot of options, and we did implement a CG2 rider within the last 2 years that included, if and when we got to the point of having a net meter that could allow power in from the system and power back out from the home. The diagrams were included for that. I think it should be a real conversation for us. Currently, what we've seen, because we haven't gotten these newer meters in like what's with the next grid system, is this a buy all sell all, where you generate and everything you make is provided back to the utility grid, and then you get a credit based on your production for that meter, and then it's basically on the same bill as an offset, but it doesn't give us folks the ability to use what they've created. But I do think we could schedule, maybe someone from Electricities, once we got into this and now that we have the technology there to read in and out, that we could easily get someone.
I think people would enjoy that.
Yeah.
So how soon after we're not voting on it tonight because it's in committee, but how soon will that be online approximately if we did approve it at, an October or November meeting?
So for us, I mean, if we meet October 8th, for our first meeting for full council approval, we would sign the agreement if we had received appropriate responses back from their legal based on our questions. And as soon as both legal parties were satisfied, then we would sign that agreement. So I mean, realistically, if this was completed before our next meeting with the two legal departments talking, then we could sign it October 9th, the following day.
But in terms of installation and like when would it be online? How long is the lag period?
So installation, they've got to set up, once we sign the service agreement, then they go to setting up our server. It's all cloud-based nowadays, so they have to set our server up. They said roughly a week or two to do that. They're already backhauling our meters at their warehouse. So they're waiting for us to be ready. Once they do that, they're gonna send them to us. We're probably gonna start with a small implementation of around 50 to 100 meters to get everything up, get our system online, make sure it's reporting to billing. After that time frame, they'll send us truckloads and we'll probably try to, I mean, realistically, we were looking at, we'd like to say 2 months to be able to get all of our residential meters out online. Our polyphase, 3-phase, larger commercial customers, that meter, it takes a little bit longer to get, so they'll be probably more in chunks getting them online. But our big residential is, we're looking at probably a 2-month rollout from the time we get a server online, those first 50 to 100 set up, and then go from there.
So the physical installation is on us and the
That's right.
server-based technical installation's on them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the system or the meters and the equipment and everything that's proprietary to this company, is that correct? Okay, so what's the life expectancy of each meter? Is it gonna be longer than what we have right now or more?
It's gonna be, an average life expectancy for a digital meter is 7 years. They're warranting their meters for 10 years. They said they've got meters out there, they're 30 years old. So it's kind of if a lightning strike hits, you're gonna lose a meter. If a surge happens, you're gonna lose a meter. But I think with them being willing to put a 10-year warranty on it, I see no reason that it shouldn't be well past that. If we buy a new third-party meter right now, they give us a 2-year warranty.
Okay, so the Utilities Committee recommends that we move this forward to the next meeting pending the two legal departments getting squared away. Is that all right? Sounds good. Okay, that concludes our special meeting and also our committee meetings. At this time, the council is going to go into closed session to consult with our town attorney regarding NCGS 100-2.1B, which relates to the protection of monuments, and also North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11.3 for the preservation of attorney-client privilege. In order for us to go into closed session, we will need a motion. Is that a motion and a second? All in favor of us going into closed session for the purposes just stated, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this time we'll be in closed session. We just ask everyone to please depart the room. Appreciate you being here.